After a long cold winter, it's time for Marge and I to go down south and enjoy some sunshine on our 48th anniversary. We'll spend the first night in a hotel in Reno, Nevada. Down the east slope of the... We always enjoy the drive down the Sierra Mountains, watching the snow-capped mountains, and this year they have plenty of snow on them. We pass by herds of cattle as we slowly move southward down Highway 395. Through small towns and over very high mountain passes. Past Mono Lake as it shines like a mirror. It's a dead calm day, and the reflections are second to none. We reach Bishop, and it's time to gas up if we can figure out how to run their gas pumps. The price isn't real decent on it either, but we have to have gas before we head to the desert. From Bishop, we head out to a dry desert. We meet Lotta, raking a bunch grass. He's like the road reports we hear for going in the valley. Lotta bull. He looked like he was starved for attention. I tried to get Marge to go out and rub his head or pet him a little bit, but she chose just to sit in the car and take his picture.
That was a good one of him. Ah!
A very old Joshua tree stands tall on the horizon. It was probably here to greet the first of the pioneers that headed across this desert plain. Some ravens circled above the hilltop. We look out the window to the left and we see the great sand dunes of the Panamint Valley. These are the sand dunes when the wind's blowing and it's real hot. They actually sing. We enter the canyon and start dropping down quite steeply into the valley below us. There's only the slight remnants of what was once some great snowbanks on the switchbacks as we move through the shaded portion toward the valley below, which will only take us a few minutes to drop down in this giant valley laying out ahead of us. The freezing and thawing has rolled many a big boulder right down into the road, but that's no problem. We just go around it. We're taking it easy just so we don't have flat tires and so we don't happen to run into one of these big boulders. Then across our first little stream that flows across the road on the way down. And this valley is a monster of a valley with a lot of really unique features in it. Even a little bit of washboard on the road. As we reach the valley floor, the sun dips low behind the horizon. We get in after dark to camp, but we set up our tent in the dark, and the next morning we're up early getting ready to make this a good vacation. The sun is beginning to come over the horizon. We just sat and watched the sun come up, a majestical sight with a little bit of haze in the area. Pretty soon it straightens out. We already have our first visitor right on a little mesquite directly behind our tent. It's one of the many lizards of the valley that sit here and wait for an insect to come by. A dove sets on an old wooden pipe brought in from a mine. Such a great day. I hike out to see if I can find Brownie. I heard he'd been injured. I find the rest of the herd. There's BB. He's standing here eating a little bit of the grass or the weeds he can find. He comes over just to say hi. It's been a whole year since I've seen him and Dinky. And Dinky looks like he's doing well this year, and he wants to say hi. Blondie peeks down from up on the hill, as well as another one of the Jennies, and it looks like they're both expecting. So maybe there'll be 2 more little burrows to add to the collection. Looks like everyone from the long-eared category did pretty good out here this year. They're all standing up here watching me go by. Looks like everybody's expecting, even this burro. Her name is Baby Boo Boo, and it looks like she's got plenty big belly. We'll be climbing up a mountain to some cliffs where we know the ravens usually build their nest, and this should be the right time of year to find them in there working on their nests. It looks like an old coyote wants to go along with us, but I've got news for him. Those ravens are too smart to fall victim to a coyote. An old raven setting out on the ridge behind the camp, and he looks like he might be nesting. They've been stealing everything for their nest, even a complete roll of toilet paper. Come in packing paper, but they never showed up. A little lizard showed up though, and he was ready to have his picture taken laying on a rock, doing a little bit of sunning. We follow along. Looks like Eeny, Meeny, and Mindy have stole something from one of the campers, and so they're out there having a feast, and a raven's trying to help, but that raven's smart enough to know just exactly how far those coyotes can reach. And the same with the dove, and when the coyote gets too close, they're out of there. It's a stick figure, sort of a humanoid form, with the head and arms above the belly part. This is thought to be a birthing area, and the petroglyphs on the rock are all dedicated to this birthing process, and they're all thought to be expecting mothers. There are several that I don't even recognize, but I've seen this sort of symbols on other sites. They scratch it into this black oxide on the rocks. And there's all sorts of different symbols. I think these were more a place of worship, so some of this may have been nothing more than artwork. On the top of this rock, there's a thunderbird, a really excellent one, carved deeply into the stone. Then there's some places where their Wikiak shelters must have stood. This is the large birds carved into the sandstone wall, and some of these birds have a wingspan of about 7 feet. There's a good bird there. For over 1/4 of a mile, there are these birds carved into the sandstone. Then we come to Swiss Cheese Mountain. It has all these pockets in it, and a little gully running through it with all the little sort of mini. Is another excellent display of Stone Age man's art. That guy looks like he was having a good time. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he's sure celebrating something. And then down below are images we think are scorpions. On the walls there is a little bit of vandalism. Someone's ran a line right through these very, very old, excellent mountain sheep petroglyphs. And then Above that, we find more mountain sheep petroglyphs and humanoids. Across the wash is more petroglyphs. Some of these are their symbol of a woman carved onto the sandstone, and more nice big birds, some of them with 7-foot wingspans. The eagles are standing tall on the rocks after surviving acid rain and vandalism and everything else. There's a mountain sheep standing on his rear end. That's probably a symbol of someone had shot a mountain sheep. And there are even turtles carved into, or desert tortoises maybe would be more accurate, carved into the. Looks to be some very old stuff across the canyon. Some more of their symbols of women and more feathers from birds decorate the canyon walls. A bighorn sheep is laid out for slaughter in the center of the screen. Meanwhile, back at the main camp, a lizard is doing his push-ups on the water pipe. He's going to really impress the ladies if he gets his body in shape. At the last light of day, Maury makes his presence to get him a drink of water. And he's fought so much. He's one of the satellite jacks from the herd, and he's fought so much that he's almost lost his ears completely to battle. The next morning, Carl is going to drive us up to the racetrack. We're going over Lippincott Pass and into the place where these mysterious moving rocks are sliding across the playa, leaving tracks. The road isn't exactly a freeway, but it's good enough to get us up where we want to go. We first cross the valley, then we start switching our way up clear to the top of the mountain, and skillfully Carl steers us up this not so great road. At least it's no freeway. At one point we can look down over the massive valley below us. As we go up one switchback after another, this road was probably pushed in by early miners to tend their mines. We see a mine ahead of us. More jiggly road that nearly jiggles your teeth right out of your head as we head toward the of the mountain pass ahead of us. Washed completely out as we wind our way one switchback at a time toward the summit. Good thing Carl's got a really good vehicle and knows how to drive these back roads. My vehicle just doesn't have enough clearance under it, and I'd probably tear it up if I went up here. Behind us we see a lake in the valley below us, but we're concentrated on going up this marginal road till we get to the top. We can look back down at the road as it winds its way up the canyon. It looks like a small ribbon laid out in a zigzag pattern. World from up here. We can also see the playa where the racetrack is, stretched out in the foreground in front of us. I race from excitement as I see the first moving rock, and wow, what a neat trail behind these. These were a source of mystery for many years. It was first thought that little green men from outer space moved these rocks. Then it was thought it was a magnetic pull of the earth, until finally some person was up here working for his doctrine, and he came up with an accepted theory His theory is when the playa is wet and slick, the whistling wind up here catches these rocks and slides them around. Since the wind changes direction a lot of times, these rocks have gone a certain direction and then decide to turn another way. I've found these moving rocks in various other playas. One, the Albert Desert, but there's not as many and they don't make as good a trail there, but they still occur at Albert Desert. We go over to the mountain where these rocks are made, and we see where they've crumbled off the cliffs above and wandered out into the playa, and there they start their journey across. After the racetrack, we go to Tea Kettle Junction and look it over. People from all over the world have brought tea kettles and put a note with them. I don't know why someone hasn't stole that really nice silver tea kettle on top. After Tea Kettle Junction, we decide to try to get out over Hunter Mountain Road. That is, if the snow isn't too deep. The road's pretty good at first, and then it only can get worse as we go on. We go for a few miles, and then we find the road climbs up over the mountain, and it's snowed in. We walked up there about a couple miles and just found that we couldn't get through it, so we have to turn around and go back down the paths we originally. The sun is sinking low in the sky as we rattle down. We pass by a mine on the way down. We go in, but it's a hole that goes nowhere. When we reach the valley floor, we see a person walking down along the valley floor. I said it looks like that guy's in some kind of distress, and it already got dark on us, so we stopped and found out what his problem was. He said he and his girlfriend were out there and had a flat tire. We asked him where. He said about 3 miles up the road. Carl and I both gave him a talking to about leaving his vehicle. That is against all rules of survival. You never leave your vehicle. He left his young pretty girlfriend at the car, and unfortunately not everyone is cool that shows up out here. So we gave him a talking to about that too and fixed his tire. He pulled out a jack and he says, "I think this is a jack, but how do you use it?"